Good evening, everyone. It's Sunday night. We're back again with another podcast for the Celtic FC Appreciation Show. It's episode 6. We're into series 2, well into series 2. And as well as joining my co-host tonight is Paul Gordon of PG and Dak's Real Fitbaw podcast. PG, I'm going to refer to you as we've got two Pauls in the studio. Thanks for coming on.
No, I'm delighted to be on. I appreciate the offer.
How's the podcast been going?
Pretty good, aye. I mean, mostly for people that don't know about us, it's the West of Scotland League, the All Juniors. But there's a die-hard kind of hardcore fans in that, and we love it. We have a good laugh with it, so we don't take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's all about, and as I say, it's great to get that kind of side of football out there. I mean, we obviously talk about Celtic primarily, but you know, it's great to kind of get that other side of football out there, and let football fans know what's happening in the leagues, kind of thing.
Oh, it's definitely. See, to be honest, if you don't know much about the level, you should go down to your local teams and support them for less than a tenner. You get into the game, you get a pie and a bovril, and you get some good football. I was actually down watching St Cadoc's against Petershill today. 4-3 at Petershill, 2 goals in injury time for Petershill. It was a cracking game. Good crowd as well at it.
That's not too bad. So so as I say, we've got a lot to get through tonight. Club Badge FC is our main sponsor. They are the official licensed suppliers of the Scotland national team. So get on to them if you want any badges or pins. And follow us over the socials. We're doing really well on Facebook, but we want to really push this. If you search Celtic FC Appreciation, we're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcast from. Just click subscribe and follow, and leave us a wee comment, a wee review. Just tell us what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. If you have any questions about Celtic in the last week of this season so far, just get your comments from me and myself and the guys. And I'm going to put the question of the day out early. When Christopher Julian and Josip Juranovic return from injury, what would be your back line for the rest of the season? What would be your back 3 or back 4 for the rest of the season? So, Paul, I'm going to start with you. Just obviously straight into it. Yesterday, Motherwell, a consecutive win away from home after an 8-month lull. How pleased were you that we not only won again yesterday, but we kept a clean sheet?
Delighted, to be honest. See, Motherwell's always a hard place to go and get a win. In particular this season, they're a good side. I was a bit nervous about it beforehand. I mean, up to Pittodrie, we weren't great, but yesterday was a lot more like what would be hoping for, and it was just a good win. To be honest, good to see Jota getting a goal as well. I think he's been excellent recently.
Yeah, Paul, as I say, Jota, another great goal. Should we be looking to buy him now?
For that kind of money, if it's right what you read, £6 million, they've got to bite their horn off for that. I mean, the guy's an excellent player. He's so young as well. He fits our model. Bring him in. £6 million is not a great deal of money anymore. You could obviously make more money than that in a year or two if he does reasonably well for us, and if he doesn't, you could probably still make more money than that. So I don't see why we shouldn't bring him in.
Yeah, and I'll just throw this to the other Paul. Looking at David Turnbull, obviously we've been talking week upon week that it hasn't really kind of been the same player as last year. Yesterday, goal of the season contender, and you could see when he's getting jeered and getting booed by the Motherwell fans that he was determined to score.
No, definitely, and I think that was the first time I think he's been back there with fans, and so I'm sure it was meant a lot that day. But I think he didn't start very well yesterday, from what I've seen of the game. But we know that he's got that in his locker, that kind of shot. There wasn't a great amount of power in it. It was just the direction and the dip and into the top right, beat Liam Kelly. And if he's a wee bit low in confidence, that guarantee that will help. And he hasn't been at his ultimate best, but we do know he's capable of magic like that. So I'm hoping to see that continue. Tough place to go. We always find it tough to go to Fir Park, and they're always a really physical team. But we kind of, after a shaky start, we kind of dominated that game yesterday, and could easily have been more.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, they didn't really lay a glove on us, and I think Joe Hart was his loose feet and managed to get himself out of a bit of danger in the first 5 minutes. Still don't know. I've watched it 10 times today. I don't know how he's managed to shuffle away for the defender like he did, but he didn't have a lot to do. And obviously, like, it's a great ball from Rogic to Jota for the first goal and smashes it in. But just in terms of, like, I thought it was really, really comfortable, as you say. Goal of season contender for Turnbull. And then when you look at it, you know, that roar at the end when the news filtered through that Hearts had equalised at Ibrox, I think that's what we've been missing during, obviously, lockdown, during COVID. That kind of roar is what we've been missing, you know, when your opposition team or your rivals drop points across the city, kind of thing.
For me personally, I think that obviously you want to go and win the league, but this year is a massive rebuild for us, and that result yesterday against Hearts for Rangers is huge for us. I mean, it's like you said, I thought what I really liked when you're talking about the roar and stuff is see the fans when we were at Pittodrie. I thought that was amazing. Just that it's the first time you've seen it since obviously COVID. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, it's we seem to have a wee bit more bite about us not in terms of just the fans. Obviously, the fans are always seem to be louder when we go away from home, kind of thing. But it's that close atmosphere when you go to places like Pittodrie, when you go to places like Fir Park. You know, the fans are on top of you, and as I said, the scenes at the end of the game yesterday, the fans are bouncing about. You know, I love to see that back, and as you say, it's a massive result. Because we've cut the gap down to 4 points. There's still plenty of hard work there. But in terms of, although I didn't think we played great yesterday, it's what I think we're heading in the right direction. And if we can get, if I can go to you, Paul, at the top, I think if we can get players back from injury, then, you know, especially like the James Forrest, Christopher Julian, I think we'll be on the right road, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, 100%. I have to kind of agree with that. But, you know, I remember the beginning of the season after the Hearts game starting so well. And then we took a dip due to injuries and whatever else. And then we're starting to come back again stronger. So I hope that dip doesn't come again. And we get the players returning and we push on and get that consistency. I said at the beginning, I said it last month, actually, like October's a massive month for us. We've got some really tricky away games. We've got the cup, you know. So if we came out of October in a good place, then I'll be excited for what's ahead.
Yeah, just a few comments coming in from John Flanagan. Turnbull far too inconsistent, and as a passenger in the bigger games, for me, he wasn't great yesterday. Teams like Well and Rafe, he done right, but he needs to up his game. I pretty much agree with it. I think we talked about it, Paul, in previous weeks that, you know, he's not turned up probably since his hat-trick against St Mirren. But, you know, he still gives 110%. John Flanagan also says when the news came through on the ground, it was brilliant. Sounded some roar. Keith Corcoran, friend of ours that come on the Hoops Celtic page, go and like his page and subscribe. Great content from him. He says, good evening, lads. Yesterday was electric. You can feel the vibe. Take every game as a cup final. It certainly feels that way, PG. Going to go to you. 5 games in 15 days now, with a trip to, I think, Easter Road next midweek after the St Johnstone game at Celtic Park. How vital is it? Obviously, you've got to win your home games, but to go to places like Easter Road and come out unscathed. I mean, would you take a 1-0 next week at Easter Road? I
would take any form of win at Easter Road. Even before this kind of rebuild that we're going through, going to Easter Road's never a given. And we don't have the best of records going there. I think it's just about getting... I think, see, for a period of time, I think just getting wins is all that matters. Obviously, we want to be playing well, and Ange is very big on that. And I think we've seen it against Dundee and St Mirren, that when it clicks, we're unplayable at our level. But I think for a wee while, winning kind of dirty as it would be on the road, it's just got to be done. I mean, it is what it is. And also, just John Flanagan, I know John through Fitbaw. For me, on his Turnbull point, I agree with what he's saying. I think bigger games he's not been on as well, but I think at Turnbull's got a wee bit extra quality, and I think he's got a couple of gears to go up as well. I think we just need to kind of give him time and stick by him.
Yeah, Keith's just saying there as well. 2014 was the last time we won there in the league at Easter Road. That's it. Just seems to be, when you look at Livingston, I think we've no won at Livingston's grounds since 2007. I think the stat wasn't old. They were out the league, obviously. But these kind of bogey grounds, you need to be putting that right this season. And getting these results. I mean, going back to yesterday, I thought. I'm not a big fan of Ralston, but as Paul will tell you. But in terms of, I thought he had a better game yesterday, and I know there was a lot of praise heaped on Carl Starfelt yesterday as well. He seemed to kind of come into his own a wee bit yesterday. What was your opinion on Starfelt yesterday? Do you think he's might just be settling in now?
I think it's just going to take him a bit of time. Also, Carter Vickers, I think, is a cracking big. I wouldn't say no nonsense because he's a decent football player as well, but I think maybe he's a cracking presence and somebody that Starfelt's probably feeling more comfortable beside, where he'll maybe be able to play himself into the game. He has looked a wee bit better of late. I'm still not completely convinced, and I think when Julien's fully fit, he'll probably come in for him. But with Ralston, Ralston for me is a guy that you can't help but like. He gives you everything he's got. He might not be the most talented player, but yesterday he put in a couple of decent balls into the box. He had that wee one he floated at the top where Jota's had the volley that he's kind of hitting at the ground as well. And this is the one he's put right across the face. And Jota's in at the back stick again. It's well defended. With a player like Jota on the other side, I think he'll probably make Ralston look better as well because Ralston does get quite a lot into the box. So I think kind of with Jota, with his directness, probably cover up some of Ralston's inefficiencies as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, with Ralston, as you say, he's a 110% player. What you see is what you get. He gives everything to the cause and he'll run through a brick wall for you. The point for me, especially when I see him in Europe, he's definitely no good at in Europe, and I don't think like him and young Montgomery should be playing in the Europa League, but it is what it is. We've got injuries and we're missing vital players in those positions. For me, I think when Juranovic comes back for injury, I think he plays instead of Ralston, and Liam Scales, who I'm going to get on to later on the show, should be in at left back for me. But in terms of that, Paul, just talking about ball and goal, he obviously came into the team yesterday. I mean, do you think it's a case of, for me, Ange doesn't want him at the club, in my opinion, but should he be given that left back role for a few consecutive games to see how he does?
To be honest, in my opinion, I would give him a chance because we don't have much options there just now. And, Adam Montgomery's come in, for a young lad, he's done well. And I think if you've got between him and Bolingoli, you have to give them both a shot to try and, prove himself. And I understand what Bolly done last year and everything, but we're still trying to replace Tierney here, and we need to do something proactive. And if that means giving a guy a chance, let's give him a chance and see how it goes. And hopefully, Taylor comes back, and maybe one day we'll fill Tierney's place. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's we've not really replaced Tierney in any way, shape, or form. Since he left for Arsenal, but so I mean, as I say, listen, it was a great win yesterday, and we go on to obviously Ferencváros next. I was going to say St Johnstone, but we need to get some points on the board, not just for not just to try and get through this group stage, but for confidence, I suppose, because PG, me and Paul were talking about it last week and the week before, and we're saying it's not about doing well in Europe or going far in Europe. It's about getting a consistent run of victories, and there's no point in beating Motherwell 2-0 at Fir Park and then going and getting hammered 3 or 4-0 by Ferencváros on the Tuesday or the Wednesday. So I mean, what's your opinions on Tuesday? Do you think we should be playing our strongest team, or do you think we should be trying to rest players and focus on the league?
I don't know. It's quite hard. Obviously, having Hibs away next week's huge, and it is the bigger game. and I think it's all right to say, like, and I agree with you in a sense, it's all right to say, oh, well, Europe's no the main priority because it isn't. But at the same time, you know what we like as Celtic fans? We love the European nights. And granted, this is a European Tuesday afternoon, so it's a bit different. But I'd probably go with the bulk of the team that's going to be that played in the weekend and going to play next weekend, because we need the guys to be getting used to playing Ange's system continuously, doing it together. And I also think that with the level of fitness you need for the way Ange wants to play, the guys they're not there yet. It's going to take, I think personally, it'll be close to Christmas time before they're really up to pace to be playing the way Ange wants to play. But again, at the same time, you could end up getting a bit of burnout with guys because of the way he wants to play. So I'd maybe rest one or two, but I wouldn't be making wholesale changes.
Yeah, and obviously, a lot's been made of the game. The kick-off time, 3:30 on a Tuesday afternoon duty, obviously caught 26. Now, for me, I was really, really upset at the time because I thought Celtic didn't fight a corner enough, because obviously Rangers at home to Brøndby on the Thursday night at 8 o'clock. Their game didn't have to move. It almost seemed like we got the brunt of it for whatever reason. To me, in my opinion, I think Celtic have obviously been compensated in moving the game. They obviously know that they'll not have a full house. And Paul, I don't know if you're going in Tuesday. I know you've got a season ticket, but have you got the package? Have you got the European package?
Yeah, I've got all the tickets. Yeah. I'm lucky enough. I'm not affected at that time by work or anything. So, yeah.
But
so
it's still an inconvenience in terms of, we seem to have been the fans seem to have been shortchanged again in terms of they've paid the money already. And, they're having to reschedule either work or personal life to try and go to a Celtic game at 3:30 on a Tuesday afternoon now. I mean, it's, as I say, they've obviously been well compensated for it. But in terms of, you're looking at Ferencváros, the last 5 games have not been consistent like ourselves. I think they've won 3 and lost 2. They get beat at the weekend by a team I'm going to try and pronounce. I think it's Zalagirsky. Something like that. There's a lot of G's and L's and S's in it. So, but do you see us getting the 3 points on the board on Tuesday?
Yeah, definitely. I think you talked just briefly about changes in the team with your rest players. I would go full throttle and then try and get a few goals or a couple of goals, finish the game where you can, and make the changes then. And I think we just need that run of games to get things clicking a bit faster. So I think too many changes to the team would be at their detriment. But I see he's getting the 3 points. But we've been proven before that if we take our eye off the ball, then we'll be punished. So, and that's happened too many times in these European nights against teams we should be beating. So we need to go out there, concentrate, and go for cutthroat attacking and just try and get the goals. I'd love to when at half time 2 or 3 goals up, and then you're looking towards Saturday's game from there.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Obviously, the good thing is we're at home on Saturday to St Johnstone before we go to Easter Road the following midweek. Keith says we'll win on Tuesday. Better be a win. I know he's coming over from Dublin for it. Europa League music at 3:30 on a Tuesday. The world has gone mad. He also says start the Greek up front on Tuesday and rest Kyogo. PG, will come to you. Do you agree with that? Do you want to see a wee bit more of Giakoumakis?
See, to be honest, we've had 2 kind of short kind of appearances from 20 minutes yesterday, maybe similar 15 minutes against Leverkusen. I'd like to see Merriam, but I'd probably still go with Kyogo. I think him building up a proper understanding with the players about him, because he's going to be our main man this year. Really, I don't see any other way for us to win too much this season without him. But I can see the point in resting him and bringing Giakoumakis to give him a run in, because again he's got to get to know the players, and if something happens to Kyogo, then we're going to need him, because I don't think you can rely on Ajeti. Yeah,
I mean, as you say, he is going to be vital. He is the main man up front, and you've seen how how we struggled without him for a few weeks there, and hopefully that won't happen again. But in terms of like, it's a revenge mission. I read a stat earlier on that Callum McGregor is the sole survivor from the last time we played them in the qualifying last year. Obviously, the only fit survivor in the Celtic team. Obviously, like Barkas and Julian and all the rest of it, they're all injured Forest. But I mean, that shows you how far I think they've came under Postecoglou, just in terms of how he's turned the team around, how it looks like a totally different team, even with maybe 3 or 4 additions like Avada, like Kyogo, that sort of thing.
I think I didn't actually realise that stat there, that McGregor's going to be the only one, but let's be honest, that's probably not a bad thing. I mean, with how poor it was last year, and I know it was only 2-1 against them, but that's a side we really should have been beaten. And like you said earlier, they're still top of the league, but late they've not been doing too well, so we really should be going and winning that. And even looking back at the Leverkusen game, where obviously we've lost 4 goals, but I thought I was at the game and I was actually sitting behind the goal we were attacking in the first half. I thought we should have been 2 up before they scored. I mean, they're a better side than us, there's no denying that. But if we can take our chances, like Paul says, there's a chance we'd be 2 or 3 up at half time, but we've got to take our chances. As much as I love Kyogo, that is probably an area where he's a bit slack at times. He scores a lot of goals because he gets so many chances. But when you're playing the higher level teams like Leverkusen, you've got to take the chances you're getting, because you're not going to get 5 and 6 like you do against a Livingston or maybe a poor choice, but against a Dundee or a St Mirren or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at their danger players as well, like Sir Frank Bowley, the Norwegian and Gwen, Mami as well. He's a penalty taker for them. Hopefully he'll not get to take any penalties at Celtic Park, but I think it'd be good as well. It'd be a good opportunity to hopefully get some of our, I don't know if they're even in the Europa League squad yet, but some of the injured players, hopefully see them back, like Sir James Forrest, Christopher Julian. We probably would need to wait to Saturday against St Johnstone, to be honest. But as you say, like it's just about taking the chances. And I think, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but Paul, if we can go to you, do you think Kyogo is stronger when he's kind of fed from the wings rather than the ball over the top?
From yesterday's game, some of Abada's crosses were horrendous. If he's got a good supply, I think he can come in and be better off. But I think aesthetically and looking at it, he plays much nicer and much smoother when he's running through the middle and overlap, and that's what's pretty on the eyes. But for me, he misses too many chances still, and needs to start putting them in the back of the net. And we're already the top goal scorers in the league. We would be far ahead of that if he put half the chances he's missed away. I prefer him going through the middle and over the top, but that necessarily not might be the best thing. But I don't really care as long as he starts putting it in the net more often. Not that his goal ratio or goal scoring isn't great or isn't good, but I think it could be even better if he just gets that wee finishing touch, So, and I think this game is actually a good game tomorrow. I think it's almost a benchmark to where we were last year, and we can go and show, let's see how this team compares to what we had last team, and we can use that to gauge. And I'll certainly be doing that as a fan. I'll be watching and I'll be seeing, where's the differences there. And hopefully we come out with a really good positive result tomorrow. High in confidence into Saturday's game. Yeah.
Yeah, as you say, when you look at it, it's all about taking chances. I mean, we played 2 really good side guys in Betis and Leverkusen. It doesn't read well in the group. Obviously, I know Rangers have obviously lost their first 2 games as well. But in terms of played 2, conceded 8, scored 3. The Betis game was a bit of a freak game in my opinion. I mean, that was just how that ended up. The score it was. I couldn't believe it ended up 4-3, but. In terms of, you look at Joe Hart, obviously he's been a breath of fresh air in the Celtic team. He's actually, I was saying after the Leverkusen game, that he's actually been one of Celtic's strongest players in the 2 games, and yet he's conceded 8 goals, and that's no necessarily down to him. That's necessarily down to changing the defence up, losing cheap goals, and just switching on at the right moment. Celtic seem to have this thing in their head where we might go 1 or 2-0 up, and as soon as you lose a goal, the whole shape, the whole formation just collapses, and they don't seem to know what to do with it. And PG, if I can come to you, I mean, what do we need to do to kind of eradicate that in terms of just just not to concede our usual goal kind of thing?
See, to be honest, put it bluntly, I just think we need better defenders. I mean, you spoke about Ralston earlier. You see him playing as the inverted fullback against Leverkusen. There was a couple of times the ball's been zipped right in the middle of the park where I'd expect if it was Juranovic, he would take it and move the ball in. And as much as I like Ralston because he is a trier, the balls get zipped in and it's kind of skidded up a bit. One in particular that I remember. And he's just not got the level of skill to take it in. He's kind of come off his shin, it's rolled forward. They've not scored for it, but Leverkusen have broke on us quickly. If we're going to play the way we play, then we do need better players. And young Montgomery, I feel for him a bit because he's kind of been thrown in. A guy like him, particularly playing fullback, he should probably be bled into the team, but with circumstances, no the chance. But the two of them are off against Leverkusen, and it doesn't help you at all. I just think that we're not good enough defensively. I'm all for Ange's way of playing. I'm not completely buying into the inverted fullback stuff, but that's the way it is, and we know that's the way it's going to be, and he's not going to change it, so we need to get behind it. But I just think we need better players. It's as simple as that for me, and it seems obvious to say it, but I just think that's the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% agree. We do need better players. We need better defenders, and that was my point. I think on a few podcasts has been when I was on Keith's podcast not long ago, and he was asking a question. I was saying that Juranovic comes in as soon as he's fit and ready. He goes in at right back, and Keith says, "What about Ralston?" I says, "Well, Ralston goes on the bench because he's played well for us. He's had some great games for us, but he needs a rest. He can't play every game, every minute, every game. He's no fit enough."
I think you're right. He probably does need a rest, and it's what I said earlier, maybe touching back on that, where the style of football play, particularly the way Ange wants the fullbacks to play, you can't have a guy playing 60 games a season with that kind of tempo. But I also think it was a bit more difficult when Juranovic first came in and obviously played on the left side against Rangers. Ralston was probably playing the best football he's ever played in his life at that period. So everybody's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you see against Leverkusen and that, he is a trier, but he's no good enough to progress us at that level. So I think it's probably a bit easier to bring Juranovic in now, and I don't think you'll get any grumbles for it. People will just say, well, fair enough, Juranovic is going to play anyway.
Yeah, I mean, what would your be? Everybody's back, everybody's injury free. What would be your back line?
I don't know. Juranovic right back, Carter Vickers is a stick on for me. Fully fit, I'd probably go with Julian and Taylor, but I still don't think that's a good enough back four. Taylor's for me isn't good enough. I mean, he's another one. He's a trier, and I like him because he gives you everything he's got, and he has moments where he play well. But I think I don't know if it's just Celtic fans maybe, but we maybe get a bit guilty of when a player's no there and he's no fit, he becomes the answer to the problem. Whereas Julian, as much as I do think he's probably one of our best defenders, and I would put him in, I still think that Julian's prone to a clanger, and you've seen it last year and the year before. It's not like Julian's going to come back for being injured and be this amazing defender. He's still going to make the same mistakes he did previously. But again, I would have him in because I'm not completely sold on Starfelt.
Yeah, and Paul, what would your back line be if everybody's fit?
Everybody's fit. It's Juranovic, Vickers, fully fit Julian, and I would say Taylor. I would go exactly what Paul said, but I just think Starfelt's, although he done better yesterday, I think he looks still at times very nervous. He starts games very nervous, which is not when you need, because 9 times out of 10 we're starting the game on the offensive, and if we get caught out and he's got that nervousness about him at the back, then it's no good. I think he grows into games. And I think a wee goal for a corner or a set piece would help him a wee bit with confidence and getting with the fans and stuff. So, but Julian walks in there all day for me.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Apart from the left back situation, I think Taylor's okay in the domestic season. I think he can play okay domestically. But for me, you know, I'd like to see Liam Scales come in. And I don't get why he's been sitting on the bench and not coming on, because, you know, he's tried Montgomery there, he's tried Bolingoli there. And for me, if I'm Liam Scales, especially at the weekend, I'm knocking on Angie's door on Monday morning and saying, what do I need today to... You know, I'm no privy to what goes on in training. But for me, I'd be asking the question, why am I not on that team? Why am I not given a chance? Because we've seen him briefly against, I think it was Raith Rovers, and he seemed to do okay. I know it's Raith Rovers at Celtic Park, but, you know, for me, I think he looks a more exciting prospect than Taylor or Bolingoli kind of thing. And saying that, if Scales isn't going to get in, then I wouldn't be adverse to trying Bolingoli, but giving him maybe 4 or 5 games in a row to let him try and settle in and see if we can work something. But it's much like last season, guys. It's you know, it's chop and change in defence, and that can't be good for the defence. It can't be good for Joe Hart either. So hopefully we get that sorted. But moving on just to St Johnstone on Saturday. Obviously, it's good that we've got another home game. We've obviously got them in the cup later on in the year. I think it's next month we play them in the cup. Is this just Paul? If I can come up to you at the top, is this just a routine game for Celtic? Could this potentially be the game where everything clicks again and we win 4 or 5-0?
I hope yesterday we'll take that into Tuesday. Good performance from Tuesday into Saturday. And listen, St Johnstone are doing all right. You know, I know they didn't have the best result at the weekend, but you know, they've been doing all right, and we played them in the cup as well. So they're in the latter stages of the cup. So, you know, we can't take anything for granted. I think it's a game we should win. I think we can all agree on that. Everybody watching this, is a game we should be going win comfortably. And I think we will. I think it'll be a couple of goals. I'd like to see loads of goals, as anybody else would. But more pleasing for me would be not to concede any goals, and if we can finish at 4:45 on Saturday without conceding any goals in the last 3 games, that would be great for me, to be honest, and it would be great for our defence. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, we get the advantage of playing at 3 o'clock on a Saturday because we are on a Tuesday. Rangers playing the Sunday, but PG, if I can come to you, in terms of, do you think there'll be a lot more changes from the Motherwell and then the Ferencváros game, just in terms of, because we're at home, it might be a chance to rest some of the bigger players?
I don't think Andrew's going to do that. I don't think he's got enough belief in his squad. I mean, you hear him talk quite regularly about, particularly at the start of the season, talking about he's not got the squad he wants and the guys need backup, which clearly tells me he's no convinced with what's there. Just to touch on Scales, when you're talking about him, I can't understand that myself. I don't know. He obviously wasn't an signing, but he's been in for a wee while now, and he's seen him training every day. For the reports you hear for Ireland, he's supposed to be a good player. So, and he's played the qualifiers in the Europa League. So I don't know why he's not playing. I'd probably give him a chance, to be honest. But on St Johnstone, I just think that we're going to go with. I don't think we'll change much at all, and I don't think we'll change much unless we can bring in quite a few new players in January. I think that they're a bit hot and cold, and to be honest, we generally do quite well against St Johnstone. You see with Livy, who we always struggle against. St Johnstone seems to be a team who cause everybody problems apart from us, so I'm hoping that can continue. I think they're having quite a bad season considering the year they've had last year. I think we'll probably take 2 or 3 off them. And like Paul says, I think if we can get a clean sheet, that'd be massive for 3 games in a row.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, hopefully it is a comfortable game. Saturday afternoon, it won't be on TV, which I'm going to kind of move on to in a minute, just in terms of the Sky deal. Edward Haswell says, good evening, guys. I was so happy with the result yesterday. Celtic need to keep a hold of Jota. We've already touched on that. I think 6 million was the fee that was almost kind of pre-agreed. As I say, if I'm obviously we don't know what's happening with the CEO business up there, but in terms of he's definitely if he wants to come to Celtic permanently, I'd be paying the 6 million because he looks like a player. When you look at look at him, look at Kyogo. I think Abada, when he gets his confidence back up, you're forgetting Abada's only 19. So it's still a lot to learn for him, kind of thing. But in terms of we've got to talk about the deal from Sky at the start of the season for the rights of the Scottish Premiership. 48 games we've been treated to this season. For me, I wanted BT to pull out all the stops to secure Scottish football for the next 4 or 5 years, because I feel that BT seem to care that wee bit extra. They give you that wee bit more coverage. The panel's a lot kind of better, a lot kind of easier on the eye, and listening to the guys that are talking about with Sky, it's just very plastic. You get Chris Boyd all the time, and it's just like I think they just put him in there just to wind the Celtic fans up, obviously. But looking at it, I'm going to throw some names at ease. I mean, Celtic from the start of the season. Now we didn't feature in September at all. Rangers obviously were away at St Johnstone. Then Rangers featured twice in October, or they will feature twice in October. And I think they've got like 2 or 3 games over us from August to December. Paul, if I can come to you at the top, do you think this is a Stevie G love-in with Sky, or do you think it'll balance itself out in the second half of the season?
I was flicking through Sky yesterday, and I couldn't believe it. They've actually got 10-pin bowling on there rather than a Celtic game, and I'm like, come on, surely. Listen, I know the Scottish football product isn't a lot better than some other leagues, mainly Premier League, La Liga. I 100% get that, but I think it's an issue for Scotland. I don't understand why we can't have our own broadcasting that the SFA do. The money they would make from that, every game televised, that stuff. But to go to Celtic, Celtic always seem to have this lack of standing up, or maybe they do stand up for Celtic and the fans, and they just don't tell you about it because they don't tell you anything anyway. These are the kind of things that start to annoy you, and I can understand if, for example, Rangers have lots of away games one month, so they're on the TV in most of the month. I get that, but then you can't have the other side of the hand, and another team having loads of away games, but not get any on TV.
Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous to me.
Just in terms of like other games that's been on, that to my knowledge, Hearts Hibs obviously has got to be on, but Dundee and Hibs was really the last one that I remember being on Sky, and that was a cracking game. It was finished 2 each end to end. Motherwell Dundee United's the only other game that's got to be on between now and the end of December. I mean, PG, if I can come to you, it's just when you look at it, it does seem to be very much that they're on Rangers' side in terms of because it's Steven Gerrard. I think I've always thought if Steven Gerrard's not at Ibrox, Sky aren't giving a hoot. And I said when Eddie Howe was linked to Celtic that Sky would really fall over themselves to get a bigger deal for Scottish football if Eddie Howe indeed had came, kind of thing, because to have 2 kind of English managers fighting it out.
I tend to agree with that. I think they've been too high profile. I think you did probably get a bit of loving with Stevie G for with Gerrard with Sky, because let's be honest, Sky don't care about Scottish football. So a couple of points I want to touch on there. Firstly, for yourself, Gary, the one you're talking about BT. I mean, I think you only need to look back at, I think it was the League Cup final a few years ago, where it was a full day on BT for all the build up to both teams' games, and they were even doing the kind of the carpool karaoke stuff where you had ex players were getting interviewed for a reasonable spell, and you do feel like BT really cared. You had even just his name's Daryl Curry hosting it, who could tell cares. Chris Sutton's a champion for the Scottish game, even though he's like a big wind up with Rangers fans. he champions the Scottish games down south big time. And then Paul, what you've said there about the £10 bowling, I remember seeing a thing, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, that rugby league gets bigger money off of Sky than what the Scottish Premier League does. And you're like, compared to the numbers, we're the highest attended league per capita in Europe. I mean, we get decent numbers. I think it was Roger Mitchell when he was the top man at the FPFL who looked at trying to get the SPL kind of TV thing. I don't see how that can be pushed by clubs, because surely that's got to be better than what we're getting. What Sky are offering is something like, was it somewhere like 600-700 grand per team in the Premier League? Like that, all right, your smaller clubs need that money, but I'm sure they would, if it was a plan put in place properly, you could make much more money with an SPFL TV or something like that. But I'm not going to lie, I watch Celtic games on Sky just because there's nowhere else to watch them. I just don't rate the Sky coverage whatsoever. Like you said, BT actually cared about the game. Sadly, they weren't willing to stump up the money. But it was good. It was good seeing Chris Boyd the other day. There, you had the two pictures in with the 87th minute with his big cheesy smile that he loves, and then 90th minute, he was absolutely devastated.
It was the best thing Sky's put on the TV all year.
That was brilliant.
I mean, obviously, I think one of the Rangers games coming up, I think it's Rangers St Mirren, is actually on Sky Sports Cricket Channel. You know, obviously, you know, we get that the English Premier League's their bread and butter, and that's what obviously brings in the big bucks for them. But at the end of the day, you know, it's like either show it or don't show it. But in terms of just, you know, we're getting shunted to ridiculous kickoff times. I mean, we're talking about the differences in the differences in the style of play for Scottish and English football. Now, Friday night, for example, I had a choice. I think it was Birmingham and West Brom were playing each other, or I could turn it over to BBC Scotland and watch Hamilton and Partick Thistle. Now I switched it over to Hamilton Partick Thistle, and obviously 1-0 at half time could have went either way, and then the second half just exploded into life. Thistle won 6-1. Absolutely unbelievable game. Not the best football you're ever going to see, but you know, two teams trying to give it their all, and that's the thing. It's just like the Scottish game doesn't get enough credit sometimes up here. Do you know what I mean? Like, you see games down there, and it's 0-0s and 1-0s and 2, and we get 3-2s and 5-1s and 6-0s sometimes, and you just think it still gets called a pub league. It's just, as I say, something needs to be done. And I know BT obviously kind of blew the load with the they got the European football secured, and I think that's what ripped into their budget, so they couldn't get Scottish football. So it was one or the other, and I think obviously we're looking at it and saying they're going to get a lot more viewers if they get the European football kind of thing. So sadly they went for that, but I totally agree with you, PG, about the Big Sutton. The fact he's probably the most Englishman I've ever met, and yet he talks so well about the Scottish game kind of thing.
Loves your game, absolutely loves it.
Yeah. So, I mean, Paul, I'm just going to come you up the top. We're going to go to Ref Watch. Are the referees doing their job? We've spoke all season about decisions that went against us, decisions that should have went for us, and things like that. For me, I know Willie Collum gets injured in the first half of the game in Saturday. You know, there's a delay, and I think his assistant Chris Fordyce came on. Made a few blunders in terms of decisions. I don't know if he was in charge of I don't know if he was on the field at the time when Turnbull was tackled by Mugabe. I don't know if that was him or Colum at the time, but you know, that's another shocking challenge that deserves to be punished properly, and that could have easily been a red card when you look at it. Motherwell should have had a penalty when we were 2-0 up. That would have pulled it back to 2-1, ball and goalie, still no handball. And that's what I'm saying. If we're going to be talking about fair decisions, we need to talk about all decisions that should be given, kind of thing. So, as I say, like, ball and goalie gets away with one on Saturday. But how did you rate the referee's performance firstly on Saturday, Paul?
Like I think most people, unless you were at the game, I didn't see every minute of the game. So, but from what I did see it, I think it's better than some. but nothing really to write home about it. You know, the handball was definitely something they missed. There's a couple of tasty challenges in there that I think should have been dealt with. I kind of go into the games thinking, well, let's stick a few goals away and just, you know, I expect the referees to make a mistake or make a wrong decision or not give something. Let's not rely on the refs. Let's go and win the game comfortably. And that's what I go into every game kind of thinking and hoping for. And, you know, the standard of the refereeing is as good as a TV package in my eyes, to be honest. So, yeah, there's too much. It's a difficult situation because it's all, you know, most people or most football supporters in Scotland will support the big two teams. So when Celtic are playing Motherwell, for example, and they put a Rangers biased referee in there, and they can say they're not biased, but of course I would do the exact same if it was me. And that happens too often for me. Is that ever going to go away? Probably not, unless you're finding foreign referees to do Celtic Rangers matches. But then, you know, it's a whole different ball game. The standard needs to be better, but I mean, how long is it going for? They're moaning about it in England, the standard of the referees as well.
Listen, I'd happily take some of the referees in England over our referees.
That's what I was about to say, yeah.
Maybe we could do a ref swap or something for a couple of weeks and see how we got on. But PG, just looking at it, some of the decisions it's went against us. The goal that was disallowed in the first game of the season against Hearts that would have put us 2-1 up. That could have changed the game. That could have been a 3-pointer. Red cards in the Dundee United game for Fuchs on, I can't remember if it was Turnbull or Abada he done, and then Abada got kicked off his Seagrist in the chest. Nothing done again. My point was, when I watched that Dundee United game that they drew, my point to my old man was that I think referees come to Celtic Park in Ibrox maybe on a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon, and it's almost like, I don't mean they switch off, but I think it's lazy refereeing because they kind of just drift through a game rather than focus 100% on it. And listen, we're not expecting them to get every decision right. But when you look at the decision at Ibrox yesterday, I've seen the footage from, I think it's Joe Aribo. The challenge is high, the leg is high, it's outstretched. That's a red card. Referee's looking straight at it, does nothing. Do you think it's lazy refereeing, or do you think there's a deeper kind of problem here?
See, people might think I'm naive and stuff. Right? I did a wee bit of refereeing when I was younger just to earn a wee bit of extra money and stuff. And I went to some of the training sessions, and like Craig Thompson, a couple of the Cat 1 referees went to the same training I did. I don't think they cheat or anything like that because they are so far up their own arses that they are so obsessed with making sure that they look all right. Mm-hmm. But it's like Paul said, you have unconscious bias. You can't help that. I mean, it's human nature. You cannot help, for talk's sake, I'm refereeing an Old Firm game and McGregor looks like he's maybe done something. I'm like, no, just about him. No red card, do you know what I mean? But the inconsistencies are what bother me. You're talking about Aribo's yesterday, where I don't think Aribo has tried to break Andy's leg, but you see how high he goes. But then you look at Porteous a couple of weeks ago, gets sent off. And I think Porteous he can be a bit wild, but I think particularly when he plays Rangers, he gets a bit of a bad rep, maybe because Gerrard's on his case a few times. But I just think that a big issue they have as well is, we're talking about referees down south who are clearly better. We can't expect our referees to be top class when they're no full-time referees. I mean, I know they train a few times a week and they get paid very well for it. Like, I think you're like 850 quid a Premier League game for a couple of hours work. That's, even at that level, is good. But I still think that part of the issue is these guys aren't professional. They're refereeing professional games when they're no professional themselves. I think that's something that we need to look at. But I suppose it all comes down to finances. It's something I want to ask you is, what do you think that with the VAR, do you think if that comes in, do you think it'll make much of a difference? Or do you think you look at Mbappe's goal for France the other week there, where somehow, even with VAR, it was still, they had him as onside when he was clearly offside?
Well, I'll throw it to you, Paul, first. Let you answer.
Well, I think we spoke about it before, Gaz. I think it gives us an opportunity to try and rule out some of that bias, because if there's a decision that has to be made by VAR, then you can kind of look at, okay, and I think it will show potentially the quality of the refereeing we have, because you might see decisions and you'll be like, if we didn't have VAR, that would not have been given. So I think it's almost like that. Anything that can help the referees is great. I understand there's certain times in different leagues and different competitions that VAR hasn't been well received, or maybe not the best suited. But it depends what kind of level of VAR it is. I don't know if they've talked exactly or spoke exactly what it is. If it's just red card issues, goal line, penalties, these kind of things, or it's the full. I don't think it will be the full, but I think anything that we can kind of help those referees, I think would help. But at least we'll be able to compare. And that's what I'm saying. We will see the decision for ourselves. So we'll see the same thing as the ref. Whereas not every time you're watching a game, you can't see exactly what the ref sees. But you'll have the opportunity to see what you see.
Sorry, Paul. Just before you answer, guys, I actually just remembered something that I got sent yesterday. We're talking, and like I said, people might think I'm naive because I don't think refs cheat. I just think they're incompetent at times. But did you see the stat with Rangers? They've not had one red card in 79 domestic games, but 7 red cards in 9 European games.
11 months. They've not had a domestic red card for.
Mental. I mean, how's that possible? But that was just, I don't know. Just something that popped into my head there.
It's mind-boggling, I know. It is. I've seen that.
But that's the thing. When you look at it and you say to yourself, Celtic fans get a bad rep because we're obsessed or we're biased, or we think the world's against us. But I think even when you look at Sky Sports on a Monday and they'll do Ref Watch and they'll have maybe Dermot Gallagher or whoever on doing an ex-referee doing some of the big decisions of the weekend, and they'll take a look at it, and some of them, the referees go, how did they come to that decision? Or no, that wasn't a red card and blah blah. But in terms of the VAR, I said to Paul a couple of weeks ago that I don't see it coming in, because I think it's going to cost something in the region of £60,000 per club, which maybe the bottom clubs don't necessarily have to throw about. So, and they might feel that it's not going to benefit them. Now, you look at yesterday, for example, at Fir Park, if VAR's there at the ground, then Motherwell getting a penalty, it's possibly a chance to get back in at 2-1, and that changes the game. But for me, I don't think enough clubs are going to either be able to stump up the cash or stump it up because they feel as if they'll not benefit from the decisions. In terms of Paul was saying, he doesn't know what kind of VAR it will be. I'd imagine it will be the same as you're getting in England. Now I watched the Newcastle Spurs game there. Obviously I'm in Newcastle, that's my English team, but in terms of, we seem to have not had a VAR decision go our way since VAR came in, so it feels a wee bit like VAR's against Newcastle. But listen, it's decisions that's been made, and it's decisions that are coming to the correct decision. Now I don't agree with when you go to look at offsides and a player's got his toenail offside or his armpit offside. I think that's ridiculous. I think it needs to be within reasonable doubt that it should either be disallowed or not. But for me, I'd love to see it because I think it would show the the decisions that referees are making that are the wrong decisions, and it's kind of showing them up. And I'm not saying they've not got a difficult job. Listen, I've seen documentaries on them and how fit they need to be a referee, and you'll know that yourself with taking a course and all the rest of it. But for me, referees aren't good enough, and they definitely need help. So I'd love to see it being trialled, but I don't see it being brought in, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. I think, first of all, you need to start having a bit of accountability for decisions, when a referee makes listen, I know they've got a tough job and it's not easy, but nothing gets done about it. How long we've been moaning about referees, or whatever. This is years. This is nothing new. This is since I was a boy. Like, this is years. And it just gets, that's what it is. The standard of refereeing is no great. And this is such a long time. There's no accountability for this. And nothing ever changes. And that will happen with VAR. There'll be a VAR team with and that, it just, nothing ever changes. We moan about the same things every year, and it just goes on and on and on, and it's just pushed away and said, that's what we expect. All the clubs should be holding the SFA rights and say, well, no, we expect better. And there'll be one team across the city that will not want VAR because they might get found out.
I think part of the problem you have, though, is the teams that are making the decisions on VAR are the guys that have... Yeah. If you subscribe to the paranoia, as it's called, then they're the guys that are still going to be making the decisions, and I don't think they care that much. But I think you're right. See if you can go to VAR and fans can see themselves, not just the highlights you see on the telly and that. If you can see the breakdown of what's happening and like the lines and all that on it, then you're probably going to be able to say, well, you can pick points and say, no, this time, that time. But I'd quite like to see it come in, just because, like you say, Paul, things don't change. You just kind of accept it. Now, this isn't me saying we're cheated, but you just do accept it. Like, I don't think about referees a massive amount because growing up as a Celtic fan, I mean, you're just kind of like, well, this is what's happens. You know what I mean? It's no saying anybody's cheating, but you're like, that's just the way it is. And if that's any opportunity to change it, then I'm all for that.
But not having that accountability and just expecting the same standard year in, year out is the same as the TV deal. Nobody says, no, we're better than that. And that's what needs to change. It's that mindset. The SFA should be going, Sky, you know what? You can bolt. We'll do our own stuff, And they'll soon regret it because they won't have the old firm games. And, people can say what they want, but they're worth a lot of money for the fan base alone. So, yeah.
See with the Sky stuff you're talking about, you can't tell me that if Scottish football, you could even bring in the lower leagues for this, where these teams that don't get coverage can get coverage and exposure and get a bit more money in. You can't tell me if they put a package together and say, look, it's £15 a month for this package. You can't tell me you're not going to get at least 100,000 people signing up for something like that. With Celtic Rangers fans you've got, you should clearly be able to get that, and then the money can filter down the divisions as well.
Absolutely.
And it kind of gives a wealth to the whole game instead of like England. I know the Championship is the fifth richest league in the world, but that doesn't mean much when you compare it to what the Premiership's on. So I think it'd be good to give the smaller clubs a bit more money as well.
Aye, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, when you look at, obviously, a lot of the games are on Amazon Prime as well now. I don't know if Amazon Prime would want to do a deal for Scottish football, even go down that route and take it away from Sky, but it is what it is at the moment. The thing that I loved yesterday in the interview after the Motherwell game is that I think one of the reporters says to Ange about the result at Ibrox, and he's like, "Oh, listen, I thought the title race was done." He says we look after our own games and we run our own race and we'll see what happens. So I'm not interested in that. As far as I was told, the race was done, mate. And I love the fact that he calls everybody mate, but he's not really their mate.
He's condescending.
It's code, it's code, But listen, guys, thanks very much for coming on. Absolute great show tonight. Got through a lot in such a short time. So, as I say, Club Badge FC, thanks again for the sponsors. If you want to listen to the show again, we are on the Facebook page, Celtic FC Appreciation. We're available to download as well right after the show. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. Tomorrow, I will be back at 12 o'clock to interview former Celtic captain Jackie McNamara on his new autobiography, and we'll be going through his career. Any questions you have, any comments, make sure and get them into the page, and we'll try and put them to him. But I'm really looking forward to that tomorrow. And if you want to know about his book tour, his UK book tour for his book, his name is McNamara. All the details are on the page. Just scroll through and find the dates that you want in the different cities. But thanks to Paul, a co-host, and Paul Gordon for coming on. Hopefully we'll get you back on again soon, mate.
Oh, love that. I appreciate you inviting me on. whenever you want, just give us a shout, and I'm happy to come on and moan about anything Celtic related.
Hopefully we keep winning and enjoy the game Tuesday, Paul.
Will do.
And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Basically tomorrow at 12 o'clock. So until then, thanks for watching, guys.